we're live. Yep, we were live. Hopefully there's audio. Fingers crossed. Oh, the correct splash screen is up. That's good. And clock's ready to go, Nev.
Roger that.
Who's got the crown tonight? Oh, Nev's got the crown.
Yeah, I've been busy at the chat room.
Oh dear, they'll be upset.
Trying to keep it under control. You know what they're like.
Yeah, they'll be upset about that.
Well,
John Falk's hot on your heels. He's in third position.
I'm going to go grab a drink and I'll be right back, guys.
Roger that. Oh, Gemma's home. Boys will be happy. Some food. Well, we're on chicken breasts this week. The boys are boys have grown tired of tuna, and they're moving on.
Oh, they're being spoiled, aren't they? Gosh.
Shredded chicken breast in broth.
Oh, lovely. Ooh.
Yeah, and the obviously the dreamies, because that's just part and parcel of.
Well, yeah. Well, the zoomies probably.
Zoomies, yeah. You're not
Are you ready with the clock?
I am, yeah. I'm ready to click the button,
oh,
Nev.
Good.
Yeah, I am ready. Fingers on the button.
5 seconds.
Okay.
4, 3,
okay,
2.
And it's rolling, Nev.
Marvellous.
Do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. Right. Put that at the top of the screen. Oh, here we go. Good luck, everyone.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 575 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I am Carlos, and in this week's show, the regional operator Eastern Airways ceases flying as they appoint an administrator. US airports report over 20 air traffic control shortages and incidents in just one day, and Ryanair issues an urgent warning to all passengers over new boarding pass rules from November. In the military this week, Turkey finalises a deal to acquire 12 ex-Royal Air Force C-130J tactical transport aircraft, and bad fuel may have been cause of the recent back-to-back Nimitz aircraft crashes. We've got the last part of the interview with Alan Munro. This is a really good one, we have to say, and we think you'll enjoy more of Alan's anecdotes from when he was in the RAF and then into the world of civilian flying. We've also an exciting announcement to make this week regarding where and when our 600th live show is going to be, and that's going to be coming up at the end of the show, so stay tuned. And also we have got a very special retro airline ad of the week this week, and it's going to be a long one. That's what she said. So joining me this week across the glorious damp Buckinghamshire countryside, it is of course our resident man of all things British Airways and Seat 1A, it's Neville Bounds. Hi, Nev.
Is here, or the fall, as the US and Canadian types might say. So, it's not very nice out there. It's sort of 10 degrees, bit yucky, a lot of rain today. Tomorrow's looking a bit better, though, I'm pleased to say. So, had a very nice Indian meal with some aviation chums last Saturday. Captain Nick was there, Captain Al, Pip was there as well. Which was nice. And Matt from the A320 podcast was there as well.
Oh.
So we had lots of, as you can imagine, I was the only non-pilot there. So there was plenty of embellishment and exaggeration, as you always get with lots of, pilots in a room. Apart from that, it was actually very good fun, I have to say. Great to see everybody after quite a long time, actually. So, unfortunately, Adam from Heathrow couldn't make it. He was due to be there, but I think work commitments enabled him not to be there. So, but apart from that, it was all good. So it was nice to see everybody, and they send their regards to us on the show and to all of our listeners as well.
Oh, I'm glad you had a nice time, Nev. I bet there were some conversations had round that table that night.
Yes, I mean, luckily, well, for legal reasons, they can't possibly be repeated. Or maybe they might do one day, perhaps when I'm in a different jurisdiction, perhaps. But it was a lot of fun as always. Nice to see the fellas.
Oh well, I'm glad you had a good time, and obviously the standard of the Indian food was good.
It was good, actually. Yes, we went to Harpenden, just to the northwest of London, and that was quite nice. Very tasty, and I'm definitely into because I was driving the 0.0 beers. So the Indian folks do a very nice 0 alcohol Kingfisher beer, which does not taste very much different from the regular one, I have to say, and that was very tasty. I really enjoyed that. And complimented it with some 0 Guinness afterwards across the road in the pub. So that was nice as well. So, they've come a long way, haven't they? 0 alcohol beers from was it Caliber? Was one of the first ones back in the day with the horrific aftertaste. And it was just not nice at all, was it? But things have improved a lot, I'm pleased to say.
Oh, well, glad to have you on the show as always tonight, Nev. Good to see you. And I bet that new car is looking a bit sad for itself with the current state of the weather on UK roads. I know mine is, and it's white.
Yes, it is a bit. So it'll require some cleaning at some point over the weekend, I think. But apart from that, that's all good. Thank you.
So joining us tonight, a special guest, last-minute special guest. We managed to drag him from his busy flying schedule, and it's safe to say that this particular person was probably not going to be washing the particular aircraft that he flies, because it would probably take him more than a day. Welcome back onto the show, our resident pilot of the glorious Queen of the Skies, the 747, is, of course... It's John Jester. Hello, John.
Hello. Good evening to everybody. We were available just the last second there. I was checking in with Carlos actually to see if he had any stories needed some input, and he's like, "Hey, wait, can you come on?" So worked out for me. I'm at home sipping a nice little beer here. Not 0.0 beer though, for sure. And just enjoying myself for the last couple of weeks here at home. So.
Yeah, no flying. That's a shame. We've got no stories to tell us, John, of flying previous flights.
We had the windstorm. The same storm that came through England last week, and I took my son over to the airport McDonald's to watch the landings for a little bit of entertainment. Like the end of last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday last week when that storm blew through. It was quite fun. We missed the one of the big go-arounds. They had a Emirates A380 coming in to land, and they had to go around for wind shear. So, our excitement's been the weather over here. It finally dried out and calmed down a little bit today.
Yeah, it's not been too fantastic here, to be fair, John. Still mild. It's still warm-ish. It's been topping out at about 15 degrees Celsius today, but it's been a bit damp underfoot, that's for sure.
Yeah, just to give people a bit of an update of where other folks are. Matt is in the middle of rebuilding radio studios, I think, which is why he's not on the show tonight. And poor old Andy, who was going to be on the show tonight, has gone down with something. So he's got the shivers in bed and all the usual stuff that people get this time of year. So he's not operationally available tonight. So thank you very much, John, for coming on at extremely short notice. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we do indeed. Thanks, John. And let's have a look and see who's joining us in the live YouTube chat room this evening. Starting off at the top of the list, our local listener, Mazoos. Hello, Mazoos. He's in there. Says hello, everyone. Richard Adams is in there as well. Good evening. And just scrolling on. John Falk. Hello to you, sir. Good to see you in there. Tanya, our visitor from the US who came and saw us for our meet-up in the summertime. Tanya's in there. Hello to you. Good to see you in there. Alan White, our Irish, the guy in Ireland there. He's keeping things going in Ireland in the skies, keeping things safe. Alan White's in there. Good to see you in there. Darren Smith says, evening plane chasers. Hello, Darren, over in Oslo. Who else we got? Mark Priestley. Good evening, everyone. Beer tonight, day off tomorrow. I like your style, Mark. Good idea, that one. Jason Trussell, hello to you as well. Evening all, he says. John Main, hi all. Hello, John. Dirk S, good evening, folks. Wouldn't be the chat room without Dirk in there, keeping things all, tickety-boo. We've got Masha. Hello to Masha. Good to see you in there, Masha. Hope you are well. Who else we got? Kevin Wallander says, hello, everyone. Hello to you, Kevin. Hobby Time. Good evening to you. Make sure I didn't miss anyone else. John Jester's obviously in the chat room as well. John's in there. Tanya, Dirk. Yes, I think we've got everyone in the chat room this evening. Good evening to you all. Thanks for joining us this evening on this episode 575. It is Wednesday, the 29th of October, and we've got loads of stuff to get through on the show this week. And don't forget, if you're listening to us as an audio podcast, make sure you check us out on YouTube, where we're live every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, as we are right now, bringing you a live show. So we have got loads of stuff to get through on the show tonight, and Darren Smith is saying, is Carlos' mic made of milk? Mink? No, it's not mink. It's just a nice muff. Loads of stuff to get through on the show tonight. So, Nev, would you like to introduce the first part of tonight's show?
Yes, lots of stuff, as Carlos says. So let's kick off with the commercial news segment.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
So, the first story this week comes to us from... where's it coming from? Independent.co.uk. And this is Eastern Airways. Those of you who live in the UK may have seen this on the social media feeds. Eastern Airways stops flying and returns planes to leasing companies. Eastern Airways, which connect the destinations including Aberdeen, Newquay and Gatwick, has filed a notice of intention to appoint an administrator this week. This legal document gives the company protection from creditors for 10 business days while it seeks an alternative to liquidation. All flights have been cancelled. Ticket sales, which continued until noon on Monday this week, ceased, and the aircraft have been returned to leasing companies. So it appears likely that Eastern Airways is to close after 28 years in service. Were this to happen, the Humberside-based airline would become the latest UK regional carrier to fail after BMI Regional and Flybe. Pilots, cabin crew, office staff and other office workers face losing their jobs. Passengers with advanced reservations would need to find alternative transport and seek refunds. The most recent annual accounts for the airline, legal entity Air Kilroe Limited, were filed back in December last year. The strategic report accompanying the results states that the directors feel the company has a good mix of business activities and is well balanced to handle the risks and uncertainties that it may face. But the legal step the carrier has taken involves asserting the company is likely to become unable to pay off its debts. Before its operations were suspended, Eastern Airways operated only 4 scheduled services. 3 of the routes were to and from Aberdeen. Links from the Scottish city to Teesside and Humberside airports in England were primarily aimed at North Sea oil traffic. The connection between Aberdeen and Wick in far north Scotland was supported by the Scottish Government as public service obligation, or PSO route, and the 93-mile typical talking 30 minutes saved about a 5-hour drive. The remaining route was between London Gatwick and Newquay. Nice part of the country, Newquay. Another PSO connection intended to provide connectivity between Cornwall and the capital. The Independent understands Cornwall Council is urgently seeking a replacement carrier, with the airline being named within days. Passengers are with forward bookings over the coming weeks and months are likely to be able to transfer them to the new operator. So Eastern Airways launched back in 1997 with a single route between Humberside and Aberdeen to serve the oil industry. It expanded during the first decade of the 21st century with routes such as Newcastle, London City as its hub on the Isle of Man. In the 2010s, Eastern operated on behalf of BA between London City and the Isle of Man. Oh, I didn't know that, Nev. It also operated a number of French domestic PSO routes for a time and flew short-lived links between Cardiff and Anglesey, another lovely part of the UK, in North Wales. Towards the end of the COVID pandemic, Eastern also launched a short-lived link between Birmingham and Gibraltar. The airline claims to be number 1 in Europe for providing charter flights for sports teams such as the Premier League football teams. Eastern Airlines also struck an agreement with KLM to operate a wide variety of links from British cities to Amsterdam Schiphol on the Dutch Airlines' behalf, but that arrangement ended on the 5th of October. So why is it difficult for regional operators to have a viable financial model? Well, I don't know. Maybe one of the reasons is the cost of maintaining the turboprop aircraft. During our 400th show, Neil Coughley from Faraday Aerospace outlined some of these figures, and they are somewhat eye-watering. We have got a special little clip here for you to listen to that raises the points that Neil said on this particular subject. So we're going to play that for you right now.
So let's talk about that regional thing. So why is this model being looked at? Why are we looking at this quickly? Well, I just thought this would be a really simplistic thing. A typical Jetstream, British aircraft design from the past. But just a comparison there, small RJs, large RJs and turboprops. And one of the things that people may not realise, obviously with a turboprop, fuel burns a lot less, which is great. But the big thing is maintenance costs on a turboprop. Maintenance cost is quite high. So for example, a turbine engine, you're looking at 1,800 hours. You'll do your hot section inspection, 3,000 hours. You'll do your overhaul. Well, hot section, what, $40,000 roughly, do that? Overhaul, about $500,000. You'll do that 3 times, and then you do a major overhaul where you replace the disc stack, you're $800,000. So for an engine that costs you $1.2 million over, say, 30,000 hours, that's going to cost you somewhere in the region of $7.5 to $8 million to operate that one engine, in just maintenance cost. Now do you understand why cost of operation is such a major part of why we don't fly regionally? Okay? There are regional airlines, but it's not commonplace. People don't use it like a bus because it's simply too expensive.
There we go. Some eye-watering figures there, Nev, for sure. And a good point there made by Neil.
Yeah, I remember him making that during the 400 show, so I thought I'd dish out that clip. I had no idea how the maintenance costs were for turboprop aircraft. He was talking about Jetstream 41, so that's obviously a little bit of a legacy machine compared to some of the newer stuff. But I've just given the chat room a bit of a task, and that is, why can't we fly profitable regional routes in the UK? I've never understood it. There's plenty of distance available. So from Newquay to Aberdeen, for example, that to get a train journey there would be horrific. and driving would be horrific as well. If the airlines could make some sensible fares, they would be able to fill those aircraft every day of the week. So it's a mystery. And of course, this is not the first failure. You know, we've had Flybe and BMI Regional before that. So there's very few regional operators left in the UK. Logan Air obviously is a major player and one of the few players left actually that can operate. So it'll be interesting to see what people say, but I just don't understand why it's so difficult for us to do this. I mean, for example, I don't know what Alan White thinks, but I think Aer Lingus do quite a nice job of their regional operations from the Republic of Ireland and from Northern Ireland in and out of the UK with their ATR aircraft. That seems to work really well, and from what I gather, the load factors are quite reasonable. So it remains a mystery to me why we can't do this properly.
I definitely think we've got the need for it now. If you put a questionnaire out around the UK, I'm sure there'd be a need for a link between some of the biggest cities in the UK, and especially when you drive down south, as well as I do, Nev, that if you want to go down to Devon in Cornwall, it's not a 10-minute drive. And Newquay obviously is quite, they've got an airport in Newquay that can take the aircraft as such, the regional aircraft. Yeah. Would I rather fly to there from, say, Norwich down to Newquay? Oh, 100%. I think if that option was given to us, we'd definitely make a trip, have a long weekend holiday down in Newquay, nice part of the country, or even up north or to Wales. But I think the need is there, but I just don't understand why it doesn't work.
Yeah, just some initial reactions from the chat room. Richard Adams says, when the trains are so expensive and subject to so many delays, although going through security is a big but necessary negative for flying. Darren Smith says, driving is cheaper, I guess, possibly. Dirk S says probably too high operating costs for the fares you could charge on regional routes, and there's no competition on driving, of course. Jason Trussell, I'm in full agreement with this, Jason. Bring back the BAE 146s. Airports need to cut down the security times with modern scanners, and it just puts people off. I think that there's definitely a real need for into UK and Ireland and Irish operations, whether it's ATRs or whatever they're using, small Embraers perhaps. But but it's very sad. So I don't know whether the administrator will be able to find a buyer for the operation from one of the more established airlines. So we'll have to see over the coming weeks and months.
Obviously, John, you're in a completely different kind of area of aviation to this kind of flying, regional flying, being in cargo. But any thoughts before we move on from you as to why you think that we just can't do it in the UK?
Yeah, your model is such a challenge over there because your regional flying that you have there tends to be inside the country. You're not supporting long haul operations as much as, say, the US has. And generally the regional operators in the US are supported by the mainline carrier because they pay a fixed rate for every flight. Doesn't matter if it's empty or full. They make their money that way. Whereas a company like this sounds like they're making their cash off of the actual passenger loads, which becomes very difficult. And if you look at that maintenance chart, and he was talking about those, like the TBOs, so the time for the inspections on the turboprop engine, especially on a Jetstream 31, which is very old aircraft actually, but light and small, should be very efficient, but those operating costs are really high in terms of the airplane has to have so much time in maintenance. A CRJ 200, like I used to fly, the engine could stay on the wing for 18,000 hours. There's some inspections that go along the way, but they're not take it off the wing, go tear it apart, look at it inspections. At 18,000 hours is when it had to actually come off for a inspection where they changed a disc in the engine, and that was only developed later. I mean, it could have gone further if they didn't have the problem with that. I think that the problem you see is just the cost point is just always going to be high. I think you also have fee structures there in your government and all the airports that, again, make it more challenging. Most airlines in the U.S. are operating on 5 to 6% profit margins, which means basically if anything really goes wrong with an individual flight, that flight's done for free. So that makes it challenging if they're running a similar model there.
Mm. Dirk S in the chat room says PTUK Airlines needs to step in there and wet lease a couple of hawkers from Carry On Leeson PLC.
God. Wow.
Oh dear. Perhaps we should start our own airline, Nev. Perhaps that's what we need to do is, to start our own regional airline. We need to just find a cheap enough aircraft to start it with. I suppose we could try a Cessna 150.
Yes, might be some payload restrictions with that, but why not?
In the U.S., we run essential air service routes. That's something like Armando started flying that when he first moved back, and he started flying to Pilatus. Those were all essential air service routes. And one of the big changes that occurred in the past 10 years or so was the allowance for single engine turboprops who actually conduct those essential air service routes. And there's also been a bit of a resurgence with companies like Cape Air taking back piston powered aircraft and using piston powered aircraft on these EAS routes, the twins in that case, either the I think it's a Piaggio twin engine plane they're utilizing, and they're still using the old Cessna 402s to do these short haul flights. Because of a cost perspective, it's just much easier and cheaper to maintain an aircraft like that than it is for you to maintain a turboprop.
Yes, we definitely need to go down the PGK regional airline route, I think. John Main says Bounds buses.
Yep, absolutely. And as long as I get, the usual 15 to 20% cut, then that's fine.
And on that note, next one's up for you, Nev, heading off to the US. And perhaps anyone in the UK or US listening who fancies a new job, this is where you need to be heading.
Oh dear, yes, it's on theguardian.com, and it says that US airports reported more than 20 incidents of air traffic controller shortages on Saturday, said Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary, in the latest sign of the government shutdown impact. A ground stop was issued by the agency at Los Angeles International Airport due to the air traffic controller staffing shortages at around 11:30 Eastern Time. Which was 15:30 GMT. The restriction covered most of the Southern California region, and delays are likely when flights resume. By noon on Sunday, the agency had recorded shortfalls in air traffic controllers at 6 US airports. Well, the Trump administration warned flight disruptions are expected to increase as the shutdown drags on. Sean Duffy told Fox's News Sunday Morning Futures program that the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, on Saturday had 22 triggers that indicated shortages of air traffic controllers. He said that figure was one of the highest that we've ever seen in the system since 1st of October. That's a sign that the controllers are wearing thin, he said. According to FlightAware, there were more than 5,300 US flight delays on Saturday, and more than 2,500 by noon on Sunday. Since the shutdown began, delays have often been above average, and according to the FAA, air traffic control staffing issues had already been reported on Sunday for Chicago and Newark flights. Through the shutdown of the federal government, about 13,000 air traffic controllers and about 50,000 TSA officers must work without pay during the shutdown, as Republicans and Democrats remain deadlocked over passing a federal budget. The shutdown has real consequences for those hard-working American patriots, says Nick Daniels, president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, in a statement last week. With each passing day, controllers become more distracted distracted by the risk of receiving a $0 paycheck on the 28th of October, despite working 40 hours per week and, in many cases, mandatory overtime due to the controller staffing shortages. Air traffic controllers receive a paycheck 2 weeks ago at about 90% of their regular pay, but Tuesday will mark their first fully unpaid pay period for work in October. Sean Duffy noted that air traffic controllers have been taking on second jobs to try and supplement their lost income. They're taking second jobs and they're out there looking, he said. The FAA is about 3,500 air traffic controllers short of targeted staffing levels, which had led many to work mandatory overtime and 6-day weeks before the shutdown began. The shutdown also forced employees in training at the FAA Academy in Oklahoma to be sent home on the 3rd of October. It can take 3 to 5 years to fully train a technician, says Dave Sparrow, president of the Professional Aviation Safety Specialists, which represents 11,000 employees at the FAA Department of Defense. Any lapse in training can push the clock back, as it did during the Academy's closure during the pandemic. For every day the government is shut down and employees in the aviation ecosystem are still furloughed, another layer of safety may be peeled away, added Dave Sparrow. The furloughed employees want to be back on the job. All of the employees need to be paid, and they want to start actively contributing to the modernisation of the air traffic control system. We call on Congress to open the government as soon as possible. Wow, that's quite a big moment, isn't it? John, what do you think about that situation?
It's a painful situation to see the controllers there working super hard all the time as it is, and then you put them under this financial strain. That they've already been under a bit of a mental strain, and I think that you're going to see problems develop here if it's not rectified sooner or later. Congress has this unfortunate habit of doing one thing and one thing only, which is running in front of a camera instead of working out a situation and coming up with a resolution that will fix things. At this point, I think the only really appropriate thing for them to do is just to vote the clean CR through, get this stopped, get the madness stopped, and then have your fight later on, figure out something else to fight about, get these people paid. It's just one of those things that drives me nuts. I wish the process was different, that they could vote through every department's budget separately and then let them fight out this extra stuff.
And as the article said, it's not just the current situation, it's the ongoing situation, because that's affecting ATC training as well, isn't it? So, that's
only going to make it worse. I mean, opposing basis guys, you hear them talk about how they were short for such a long time. They're constantly training, and they're still constantly training, and they're losing qualified people, to retirements. They're losing qualified people going back to careers flying ancient 767s, and this is going to be a continuing problem. They'll get it fixed.
Yep, they've got to solve it, haven't they? Somehow. So, yeah.
John, you have got the next story, and special one for you. Nev chose this one just for you.
Oh, yeah. This comes from breakingtravelnews.com. American Airlines welcomes the Airbus 321 XLR to the fleet. American Airlines is sweetening its premium cross-country experience with the debut of the Airbus A321 XLR in its fleet. Customers can purchase tickets now on AA.com via American's mobile app for the inaugural flight. 3 on December 18th from New York JFK to Los Angeles. Designed for long journeys with comfort and style at the forefront, American is thrilled to be the first U.S. airline to operate the A321 XLR, said Heather Garbodin, American's chief customers officer. Where customers are traveling from the coast to coast or across the ocean, America's newest aircraft demonstrates our commitment to providing a premium travel experience. American is the first U.S. airlines to debut the Airbus 321 XLR and the only global airline offering customers a 3-cabin layout on the aircraft. The inaugural flight with its premium flagship suite experience will operate from New York to Los Angeles on December 18th. Customers eager to experience transcontinental premium travel can purchase tickets on select flights on the XLR for flights through February 11th, 2026. And then I get copied. Your story repeats. So yeah, I'll knock a lot of things about Airbus, but their cabin is pretty nice, and I do regularly fly on the 321 across the Atlantic to go to work by a different colored aircraft operator, but it's quite a nice flight. Generally speaking, it's quiet and comfortable. It's just slow. That's my only complaint.
Oh dear. Nev, have BA got these yet? I don't know if they got the 320.
No, they haven't. No, I don't think they've got any on order either. I don't think they're planning to do stuff across the pond with single aisle aircraft. I think they're going to stick with their 777s or the X's when they finally get delivered, 787s and A350s.
Yes, and that the business class flagship is definitely nice on the 777. I can definitely say that. But the premium does look nice. I tell you, all these different premium products that the airlines are now starting to bring out, Nev, that we talk about on the show quite frequently, it's starting to become a very big thing now. The whole premium economy kind of ticket. I think more and more people now are spending that extra few quid to travel in premium as opposed to...
Well, as we've said before, the financial model for the airlines doesn't work with everybody stuck in economy and a few people in business all first. They've got to have more equity across the airframe in terms of what people are paying for their tickets as well. So, but yeah, premium economy is a really good sort of halfway house, and people that want to travel business and they've saved up for it as well, that's great as well. But the airlines do need people in the premium seats, business and first, to make the whole thing work.
Definitely. Next one is from airporttechnology.com, and back to the UK for this one. UK's Birmingham Airport have confirmed a £300 million investment programme. Now, I've not flown from here before, or flown into either. Birmingham Airport in the UK has confirmed the £300 million investment programme, with £75 million allocated annually through to 2029 to support a series of infrastructure projects. Planned initiatives include further expansion of the retail and hospitality spaces with a scheduled refurbishment by WDF. 3 additional food and beverage outlets, always good, are also set to be introduced in the departure lounge over the coming years. Investment outside the terminal will focus on airfield improvements, including taxiway reconstruction, installation of new stands, lighting system upgrades and runway maintenance, totalling £40 million. The airport intends to upgrade baggage capacity for both inbound and outbound passengers by committing £40 million to self-service drop-off systems, baggage sortation enhancements and improved handling operations. For the first time, e-gates are expected to be installed in the South Terminal by summer, alongside continued investment in security lane efficiency and passenger facility upgrades across arrivals and departures. The airport has begun work as well on the new master plan, which will outline strategic development and capacity planning for up to 2024, the year 2024. It expects to announce its chosen partner in the coming weeks, which will provide a framework for development beyond 2040. West Midlands Mayor Richard Parker said every year millions of visitors are setting foot in our regional airport of Birmingham, and it's the workplace of thousands of our residents. Now the airport is backing the West Midlands even more with the £300 million investment. And back in November 2024, National Air Traffic Control Service, or NATS, was selected to serve as the new air traffic control service provider for Birmingham Airport. Not flown in there, Nev, but I'm guessing it's a similar size to Luton? I don't know.
Yeah, roughly. The winds are a bit more challenging, though. I think for some of the crews, it's very exposed around there, and a quick look on YouTube will show you some of the challenging landings that have been going on there. I mean, yeah, it's been underinvested for years. I've flown there a couple of times. I think from memory, Maersk from Denmark, I seem to recall, operated to Birmingham. I did that a couple of times from Copenhagen, I think it was, or maybe Billund, possibly Billund, I think it was. But yeah, it could do with some improvement. I mean, they have done quite a lot already, but it's always good to see some more investment going into some of the regional airports. And it's, smack in the middle of the country. So in terms of accessibility, it's really good. But yes, they could do with some better facilities, that's for sure.
How about you, John? Have you ever visited Birmingham Airport?
No, I have not. I was looking at when I came in, actually after I had the visit, the company decided to send me into East Midlands, and that was one of the airports that was sort of nearby, but worked out better to go down to Heathrow for me. So,
yeah, I think you've got to be heading that way to travel to Birmingham Airport, but. Yes, it's bigger than Norwich, and we could definitely do with some expansion at Norwich Airport, that's for sure. And you'll definitely agree with me there, John, because you flew into and out of there. Is definitely
use some new security staff there, honestly. Everything else was fine.
Oh dear, how could you say a bad thing about our London Norwich Airport? Yes, good airport, that one. Right, now Nev. My mouse has just stopped working. That's handy.
Oh,
yes, there we go. Nev, you've got the next story, I think.
Yes, it's on flightglobal.com. And just when you thought they couldn't squeeze any more out of the 737, somebody just has. Aircraft modification specialist Aeronautical Engineers has launched development of a Boeing 737-900ER passenger to freighter conversion program with a 2029 certification goal. The Miami firm already offers cargo conversions of several different aircraft types, including 737-300s, 400s, 800s, MD-80s, and MHIRJ and CRJ 200s. The new 737-900 ERSF, which stands for Extended Range Special Freighter, will be the largest and most capable narrow-body freighter in its lineup, offering unmatched volume and payload advantages over existing 737 freighter platforms, the company says. Excuse me. This is a strategic move to address the increasing demand for higher capacity narrow-body freighters, adds Aeronautical Engineers Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Robert Convey. With the global e-commerce and express markets continuing to grow, the 737-900 ERSF will provide operators with the right blend of payload, volume, and economics. This aircraft will have 206 cubic meters of cargo space, accommodating 12 cargo pallets and carrying 26,172 kilos of payload. It will have an 83.3-ton maximum takeoff weight and seats for 5 passengers. We are launching the program on spec and will look to secure an operator closer to the end of the program, says Aeronautical Engineers. The modification work involves reinforcing the jet's doors and installing a cabin barrier, a cargo loading system supplied by Ankara Aircraft, and a left side forward cargo door measuring 2.2 by 3.5 metres, Aeronautical Engineers says. The firm will offer the 737-900 ERSF with optional 120-minute extended operations capability, ETOPS. It is developing the aircraft under a licensing arrangement with Boeing and expects the FAA will approve a supplemental type certificate for the modified aircraft in 2029, followed shortly thereafter by approvals from European and Chinese regulators. Airlines globally operate about 475 737-900 ERs and have another 25 in storage, of which most were formerly in service with Indonesian carrier Lion Air Lion Air, according to fleet data provider Cirium. We expect to convert between 200 and 300 units, the firm says. Also, the firm works with conversion facilities operated by Commercial Jet in Miami, Florida, and Dothan, Alabama, KF Aerospace in Canada, and Taikou Shandong Aircraft Engineering Company and Zemen in China. Well, I mean, I just thought that you couldn't do any more with the 737, but apparently you can. John, do you think is this the right platform to be doing this sort of conversion work with, do you think? Yeah.
Hello, John?
We cannot hear you.
We cannot hear you, John.
I muted myself.
He's muted himself.
So sorry. I was saying it was a cute little aircraft at 26 tons of payload capability there, but no, it's a pretty good airplane, and the new demand models you see in cargo, but with this express flying is a lot of bulk and not a lot of weight. So having 12 pallet positions, that gives you a fair amount of space. 180-minute ETOPS allows you to hit most places in the world, that a 737 could range to. So you could do west coast of the U.S. out to Hawaii with a 180-minute ETOPS. And you see quite a bit of that kind of flying there, and it'd be a good replacement for some of these 757s that are ranging out. And it's easy to service too because it's down low to the ground, and that does aid in loading cargo into the belly, aids in a lot of stuff. You don't have to have the complex equipment we do with a 747. We have to have that main deck loader. So it works.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that actually. Yes, because it is with the landing gear as short as it is actually quite low to the ground to begin with, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah, a regular cargo loader probably could work on this. That you would use on a normal wide body for lower cargo, lower load cargo. But this would allow them to carry that bulk and then place additional stuff below. 26 tons is pretty reasonable to go into smaller airports. Allows them to service stuff at a longer range. Do a thinner point-to-point kind of service than what you do with an aircraft like mine, where we take large loads essentially for a single shipper, we bring it into the U.S. and then they repackage it, redistribute it out, usually by truck or something like that. But this will allow them to do point-to-point more.
Yep, nice.
Yeah, I think they should just move on. Fresh, clean sheet aircraft, something new in the sort of mid-range, small to mid-range kind of area. But we've been saying it for a long while. Right.
Yeah, well, I think if you go like Boeing, though, I mean, replace the 737 with the 797 and from the start, build your cargo version of it. They'd be kicking it, maybe down the road a little bit to get the actual work done, but that would be a real winner for everybody.
Just a quick comment in the chat room. John Dirk S says it's nice to know that even pilots accidentally mute themselves on a web call. Just don't do that when you're contacting Narita ATC, John.
But yeah, usually the problem is you're talking to the back to the passengers or something. So.
Yeah. And John, you have got the next story, which is a bit of a hot story. This one.
Yeah, that's the way of saying it. This comes from Paddle Your Own Canoe. That is an awesome website name. Air France Boeing 777 makes emergency landing after the plane turned into a sauna, which is not fun having survived one of these experiments. The pilots of an Air France flight from Paris Charles de Gaulle to the French island of Réunion in the Indian Ocean were forced to make an emergency landing after passengers started to suffer as the cabin became unbearably and uncontrollably hot. The Boeing 777 wide-body aircraft had been in the air for less than an hour when the pilots alerted air traffic control that they needed to return to Paris because of the sweltering conditions in the cabin. Although what started off as an inconvenience soon turned into a full-blown emergency. Air France flight AF652 departed Paris at around 30 minutes later at 6 p.m. on October 24th, what should have been a routine 11-hour flight to Saint-Denis on Reunion. The flight was being operated by a 16-year-old Boeing 777-300, which was delivered factory fresh to Air France in June 2009. The aircraft is configured for leisure routes with a massive economy cabin comprising 430 seats with just 28 economy and 14 business class seats. Eesh, that is, wow. Data supplied by flight tracking website Flight Radar 24 showed the aircraft climbing to 31,000 feet after departing Charles de Gaulle Airport on Friday evening as it headed southeast towards Switzerland. And but the Aviation Herald reports that as the airplane came within 50 nautical miles of Zurich, the pilots told the air traffic control that they needed to return to Paris because the heat in the cabin was becoming unbearably hot no matter what they did. They couldn't cool it down. The pilots of an Air France flight from Paris, Charles de Gaulle to the French island of Reunion in the Indian Ocean were forced. It seems like it's repeating itself. Yeah.
They declared a pan anyway. That's for sure.
Yeah, they declared and would have had to return, and yeah, maybe dumped a little gas. Probably my guess. The Boeings, we use an interesting system. We had packs on the aircraft, and one set of air comes through off the engines and is cooled, compressed, cooled, and expanded. So multiple times. And that results in some very cold air. And then we use another tap of bleed air to heat it back up and control the temperature. And if that valve gets stuck in the wrong position, full open, it becomes incredibly hot, incredibly quickly. Yeah, that is definitely a Boeing design that could use some tweaking, but it's, I guess, it served them for a long time.
Is that including the air, John, that comes to you from the little the little blowers above your head? Is that the same?
The gaspers?
Yeah.
So the packs basically will suck in air from the outside. That's cold. They compress it, and then they cool it. And then they decompress it, which cools it off even more. And then they recompress it, cool it, and then expand it again to get this essentially like just above freezing air. And then we use what we call trim air, which is just another tap of bleed air, which is hot air. And then we have mixing valves that add that air in to try and control the temperature, and allows us to have, like on a freighter, we have a lot of ability to control down to like 4 degrees Celsius on our cargo sections, and that can work great for that temperature control. When those trim air valves stop working, then it's miserable. If hopefully it sticks somewhere in the middle, and then you sort of have decent air. But if you get stuck full open or you get stuck full closed, you either have an ice box or an oven.
A sweat box, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant experience. I found when I got to divert up into Fairbanks, Alaska, and I got to start an airplane up from dead cold. When it started putting the hot air into it, it opened up that valve all the way, and it was amazing how hot that air was coming out of the vents. To the point like I closed them because it was like basically putting a hairdryer in your face.
And on the flight deck, John, it's the same for you guys. The heat is the same. You don't have like a separate kind of climate for the flight deck.
We can control each area separately, and that's the beauty of those trim air valves, is that the small amount of hot air coming off the bleed air system allows us to manage all that cold air and do it by zone. So we can actually control on the cargo version, we can control the flight deck itself, like where we sit as a pilot. We can control the cabin area just behind us where the passenger seats are located on our freighter, and we can control the temperature in the bunks all separately. Same with the main deck. We control the front and we control the back. We control the lower front and the lower back, all independent temperature, so that we can have, say, medicine in the lower front portion, and that needs to be cold. But then we could have maybe some fruit and vegetables that need to be kept at a moderate temperature in the lower aft. And then on the upper deck, we could have, in theory, somewhat different temperatures. That gets, it's all one large area that can't have a great big a difference. But we could say have it 10 degrees in the front and 15 degrees in the back if that's what we require to do. And it's doable. It's just those valves all have to work, and as airplanes get older, valves like that can develop, like arthritis. Basically, kind of probably more likely stuff is building up in them. Luckily, it's not as bad as it used to be with the smoking on board, but there's plenty of gunk in the air coming from outside the aircraft being sucked in. Probably toss in a little bit of oil vapor in there, and then you're going to get a valve that eventually might stick.
There we go.
This is most likely what happened.
Now. That's more I've learned this show. Hey, Nev.
Oh, yes. No, some great comments in the chat room as well as possible ways of solving the problem. Dirk S says opening the doors for a couple of minutes might have helped. Darren Smith, the pilot should have declared hot, hot, hot rather than wet, wet, wet for the runway, presumably. But yeah, my biggest thing about the whole thing was the density of seating in there. 430 in economy.
That's awful.
On a 777. I don't know how loaded the aircraft was, but oh boy.
Not only have Air France got an awful livery, they just pack them in.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, next one from Arise.tv. Air Peace. Now, I've seen these aircraft, when I flew out of Gatwick earlier this year. It's not a bad livery, actually. Air Peace expands global reach with Abuja to London Heathrow flights. Nigeria's largest carrier. This is a really interesting named airline, isn't it? Air Peace. They've officially launched its Abuja to London Heathrow service, expanding its international network and reinforcing Nigeria's presence in global aviation. The inaugural flight, which took off from Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, on Sunday, marks Air Peace's second direct route to the UK after the Lagos-London Gatwick service commenced back in March 2024. The departure ceremony at the Abuja airport was a vibrant and celebratory as the check-in counters were adorned with branded decor and enthusiastic passengers received souvenirs and refreshments. Abuja, the Heathrow service, effective October 26th, marks a major stride for Nigeria's aviation industry, enhancing global connectivity, creating economic opportunities, and in reinforcing the role of domestic carriers in international markets. As passengers boarded the maiden flight, the atmosphere was one of pride and optimism, with a seamless ticketing options from several Nigerian cities via Abuja to Heathrow. Air Peace promises greater accessibility, competitive fares and improved service quality. For both Air Peace and Nigeria, the landmark launch goes beyond aviation, and it's a declaration that Nigeria's Eagle is taking flight on the global stage. So there, have you seen these guys, Nev, when you've been at the airports?
No, I haven't actually. No, I didn't see that the aircraft down there when I was at Gatwick the other day. But yeah. Some comments in the chat room. Dirk S says, hope it's Air Peace and not Air Peace, Peica. Richard Adams says, hair piece for the older gentleman traveller.
Richard Adams commenting there.
Yeah.
Carlos would like some pieces. Yes, I suppose I would do, wouldn't I?
There you go. But no, it was good. Good stuff. Another route.
Comment there from Darren actually says the name Airpeace was chosen because the airline was founded with a primary goal of promoting peace through job creation and empowerment, particularly in Nigeria's south region. Oh, didn't know that, Nev. Learn something new every day, don't we?
Yeah.
Right, what have we got next? It is you, Nev, with a Ryanair story.
Yeah, it's on belfastlive.co.uk, and it says that Ryanair bosses are urging passengers to get familiar with their new boarding rules, which will kick off in November. The budget airline is ditching physical boarding passes and going completely digital, which means paper printouts will be a thing of the past. From the 3rd of November, that's on Monday of next week, travellers will be required to show their boarding passes through the Ryanair app. The company hopes to cut around 300 tonnes of paper annually by switching to digital, though worries have been voiced about potential challenges for elderly passengers who might not use the internet or possess smartphones. Ryanair's boss Michael O'Leary has now offered reassurance to ease passenger anxieties about the compulsory smartphone boarding passes. He said almost 100% of our passengers have smartphones, and we want to move everyone onto the smartphone technology. The big concern that people have is what happens if I lose my battery or whatever if I lose my phone, reports Wales Online. If you lose your phone, no issue. As long as you've checked in before you get to the airport, we'll reissue a paper boarding pass at the airport free of charge. But you have to check in before you get to the airport. Also, if your battery dies or something happens once you've checked in, we'll have your sequence number anyway at the boarding gate, and we'll take you. We'll take you. You'll get on. That doesn't actually make sense. So no one should worry about it. Just make sure you check in online before you get to the airport and all will be fine, he says. With changes imminent, it's crucial to familiarise yourself with Ryanair's boarding pass policy before heading to the airport. Your boarding pass can be accessed via My Bookings on the Ryanair.com website or through the Ryanair app. If you've checked in online but misplaced your boarding pass, you can retrieve it at any time using the Ryanair app. However, if you're flying out of a Moroccan airport or travelling from Tirana to the UK, a digital boarding pass won't cut it. You'll still need to have a physical printed copy of your boarding pass, as a digital version won't be accepted. Ryanair passengers should be aware of the fees outlined by the airline. A per sector airport check-in fee can set you back a hefty £55 or £30 if you're departing from Spain. Additionally, there's a £20 charge if you need a replacement boarding pass at the airport. Now, it's an ongoing discussion, isn't it, about elderly people using smartphones or not having them. Well, my mother-in-law, before sadly she passed away a couple of years ago, she was 91 and she was doing all of her banking online and used apps on her phone and that kind of thing. Now, that's not for everybody. I get that, but I think it's got to the stage now where this is the only option for people in many cases. And as we're seeing physical boarding passes and physical written items just not being available anymore, and things only being available online.
Yeah, we used our smartphones a few weeks ago, Nev, for our flights to Dublin. Had the tickets on there, which works. Actually worked quite well. On the you have to sort of hold your phone over and it just scans it. It worked very well. But I have seen it not working with other people on their mobile phones, whether it's because of the screen contrast or resolution. I think there are certain things that can affect it, Nev. I mean, you're tech genius here. You'd probably know better than anyone.
Well, yeah, and yes, I mean, it works most of the time, doesn't it? Occasionally I've had a problem. They've just had to manually input my details, but yeah, normally it's fine. But as John Falk says in the chat room, we only need another decade when old age and IT can't be an excuse. I think you're about right there, yeah. John, actually. So we'll have to see how that goes. Actually,
we've got a new face, new name in the chat room, Nev. Tom Hathaway makes a very good point, and this is something that I actually do miss from back in the olden days. No more collecting boarding card stubs. Do you remember those, Nev?
Yeah, I know. I used to have loads of them back in the day when I was flying for work. It's before, obviously, the internet and smartphones and what have you. But yeah, I collected those a lot. I don't know. I think they're in the loft somewhere. But yeah,
I'm very much with what Tanya's just said in the chat room. I'm exactly the same, and I did exactly that a few weeks ago, Tanya. When I flew to Dublin, I printed out the QR code boarding passes and had those in my hand luggage when we flew out, just in case. But according to that story, Nev, I think that did say that they're not going to accept the printed out versions at all.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, it's digital only.
What do you reckon, John? You're limited travelling with Ryanair.
Oh yeah, well yeah. My wife would and my mother-in-law would probably absolutely not travel on Ryanair just because of this. They are both dedicated paper boarding card type people. Even though my mother-in-law, she travels quite a bit still. I've done the electronic check-in for her a few times, and I've given her the digital boarding card 3 different ways on her device, and then she still wants to print it out. So. People like that. I long ago gave up on printed cards. It's just something else to be in my pocket for me to lose. I'll take the QR code on my phone every day of the week, and checking somebody in it where they've lost it. Besides having to look at their ID, it generally is typing in the seat number. So it's not exactly a hard thing to get around if you lose a boarding card at the last second.
John Falk in the chat room says, makes a good comment there, Nev. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yes, he's right. Actually, many years ago, he says you could get a reduction in income tax for days out of the country, and you needed ticket stubs as evidence for that. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. I do remember that. That was the only way you could prove that you'd been out of the country by showing the revenue, your ticket stubs, which would be more difficult to do in the digital world, of course. Yeah.
Masha says, very few people still have a printer at home. I've got one, Masha, sitting just over there. And I have to say, I do use it quite a bit, actually. More than likely for my mum when she wants me to print photos out for her. But, I've still got a printer there. I use quite a bit, still use it. But, be interesting to see in the coming months. It's coming in November, you said, didn't you, Nev?
Yeah, next week, Monday. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see in a month's time what stories are coming out on the news feeds about incidents at airports. We'll have to wait and see.
Or not. I mean, maybe perhaps it needs somebody to bite the bullet a little bit and do this to see what happens.
Yeah.
I do find the part where if you print off your own boarding card, they don't want to accept that. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
That's just dumb.
That's not quite right, is it?
That's just like poking the bear for no reason.
And Mark Precy says in the chat room, passports will be replaced with digital ones on the phone. I mean, that's probably just round the corner.
What could possibly go wrong with that?
Yeah, what could go wrong? Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Anyway, John, you have got the last story, and we are going to say a big thank you to our long-distance listener, Ray Davis over in Australia, for sending us this story. We've got some great pictures to go with this as well, for those of you watching on YouTube.
Yeah, I actually caught this a YouTube video of this as well. This week, the Rural Fire Service large air tanker Marie Bashir had the honor of being the first large aircraft to land at the new Testern Sydney International Airport in Badgerys Creek. I apologize to our Australian friends. Pilot Nigel Long and co-pilot Michael Hayes were behind the controls as he successfully touched down, greeted by a crowd of excited onlookers, aviation enthusiasts, and airport staff. It is a Boeing 737-300 aircraft. The landing also marks the start of a 2-day multi-agency emergency exercise involving more than 300 personnel, including contingents of RFS firefighters. The exercise will rigorously test the airport's response capabilities ahead of its scheduled opening in the second half of 2026. The emergency scenario, which will run through Thursday and include simulations of an aircraft in distress, it is an important step in preparing WSI to open for passenger service next year. It's really important that we understand how Western Sydney International Airport is actually going to function and how we're going to function together when there's a situation that calls on that. WSI CEO Simon Hickey told media at the airport on Wednesday morning. We have over 300 people that have been working here today on an emergency exercise, over 50 emergency vehicles. We've got our first firefighting equipment that is here, ready to go in the exercise, and we've got volunteers from the community. So everyone's working together to really put the airport together and understand how we work in an emergency situation. It's great to see. I know that's a big development for the Sydney region there to have that airport, and they want to move some cargo aircraft there. It's kind of ironic using a fire service aircraft to test their emergency services stuff, but hey, it works really well. And I imagine what they're doing is they're doing a lot of the emergency response drills out to the aircraft, simulated mass casualty drills, so they can test all the systems, communications, coordination with all the local hospitals. There's a lot to be done in terms of emergency response at an airport, and starting to put a whole new airport, you need to get all those systems ironed out before you start operations.
I'll tell you what, if I could have a part of this aircraft hanging on the wall here, I would have those engine nacelle, those cowlings on there. I mean, just look at that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, someone has spent, a good portion of the afternoon with a tin of aluminium polish. I mean,
or Maguire's and a good,
That's
good
a
class.
well-loved aircraft right there. You can tell from that. I'm fairly certain that's probably a Colson aircraft.
yeah, that
I think
is.
they
was,
have the contract
yes.
down there.
Yeah.
Because it's still got an N registration on it. But it's definitely that's well-loved airplane, as shiny as that is.
Never has a CFM 56 looked so nice. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna have to save up and get one of those, Nev. I think in the back garden, make a nice kind of like a flower pot. Put some flowers in. That way, I could please Gemma then. You see, because she wouldn't have to complain. It's aviation, but it's also got some garden stuff in. We'll have to try it. Oh, okay. Right, moving on to the next part of the show, Nev, and it's a very special one this week, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's the retro airline ad of the week, and I think it's Dirk's favourite segment of the entire show. Well, this week it's a real retro treat where we head back to an era where airlines had spacious cabins, powder rooms, and check out that food. All this at 35,000 feet and 658 miles per hour.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard the spacious cabin, attractively decorated, air-conditioned but draft-free. Newly designed individual overhead light units are an innovation. Roominess extends even to the powder rooms, which look like those in a private home. And a new sensation, complete absence of vibration. Near sonic speed, but inside one of the most stunning discoveries. There is no feeling of movement at all, no vibration, hardly any sound. A new concept in air transportation. The travail has been taken out of travel.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are now at cruising altitude, 35,000 feet. Our flying speed is 575 miles per hour. In addition, we're benefiting from a substantial tailwind by courtesy of the jet stream. Hence, our ground speed is now approximately 658 miles per hour. Indications are that our arrival at London Airport may be ahead of schedule. I'll be speaking with you again from time to time. Thank you.
This is the atmosphere on a jet clipper flight. Delicious food adds to the enjoyment. It's prepared in 4 simultaneously operating galleys where dishes can be cooked in 5-minute ovens. Scenes of living room quiet and relaxation. The mood enhanced by lighting that can be changed from the pale pink of dawn through all the variations to the dark blue of night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain again. I've just been talking with flight control at London Airport. The temperature there is 64 degrees and the weather is clear. If you haven't already changed your watches to conform to the time difference, I suggest you do so now. We are now making our descent. I won't be speaking to you again, as we'll be in our landing pattern over London in the next few minutes. It was a pleasure to have you aboard our jet clipper. We hope to have you with us again soon. Thank you.
I mean, that's got to be up there with one of the best we've had on the show.
Yeah. I think that it may be stretching the point to say it's almost silent and there's no vibration.
I'd definitely the same thing at the silent part.
Yeah.
Vibration maybe I'll give them, but
yeah.
Silent with a straight jet engine? Wow, no.
I mean, the powder rooms, there was
you see, you've got to be a certain age, Carlos, to know what a powder room is, and the nomenclature that was used for, the ladies' lavatory back in the day.
I just love the standard of the meals, Nev. I mean, there was what looked like a rack of ribs or something on the dish there.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly.
I mean, it's not that long ago that they had legit food on planes like that. I started working for United in 1993. Yeah, 93. And that year they actually gave us a free pass anywhere in the world round trip. I went to Australia. Might as well go big or go home, right? And on the flight down there, rack of lamb. Like multiple pieces in it. And it was normal food for a flight back then. And I used to work in the flight kitchen before I did that flight, and it was, you would see that kind of stuff getting loaded up all the time. And now, you're lucky to get hot food, lucky to get food. One, you're more lucky if it's hot, and even more if you're lucky if you recognize what the heck it is.
Richard Adams in the chat room says coughing through the fag smoke would drown out the engine noise. Yes, it's a hark back to the days when smoking was very much allowed on airliners. I mean, the cabins may have been quiet and, vibration free, but I think, Nev, that there would have been a slight air of tobacco smoke in the air.
Yeah, I remember coming back from where was I coming back from? Oh, from Cairo on Egypt Air. And in the economy section, of course, that was what I was traveling back in the day. They had the smoking section and the non-smoking section. And they asked you at check-in, would you like to sit in the non-smoking section? Which, of course, I did. But, of course, it makes very little difference when you are in a tube like that, all crammed in a 747 in economy.
Yes.
I did a flight on yacht from Frankfurt down to Belgrade, Yugoslavia, and the smoking section was the right side of the aircraft. The non-smoking section was the left side of the aircraft.
Fantastic.
I can remember those days, though, as a child. I honestly, I know it. Smoking or non-smoking. I remember the tickets, the stubs with the symbols on, and had a little crossover whichever section you were seated in. And you think back then, what difference did one row of seats make with no curtain divider or any wall to someone sitting behind you with, a packet of, cigarettes on the go?
Yeah,
mad times. Right, Nev, what is coming up next?
Right, well, we've got the final part of the interview that Nick did with Alan Munro. This is quite a lengthy part, but I thought it would be nice to have it in its entirety because it does actually string together quite well. But in this final part, Alan reflects on his final years in the military and then transitioning back into the civil world, operating the Airbus A320. Well, as usual, it's an incredible insight into his career, his experiences, and sometimes the fun that was had.
I noticed that despite your extensive flying experience, you got one of the treasured slots on the Tactical Leadership Program at Jever in Germany.
Yeah.
Now, I always thought they were aimed at up-and-coming youngsters to teach them. So what were you, as quite an old
I was 40.
fella back? Yeah. How did you swing that course?
I don't know. I really don't know, but I was just told I was going.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But it was a great fun course, I gather.
It was a super course.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, it got as close to simulating wartime mission as you could get. 18 aircraft, 6 air defence and 12 air to ground. And there were long range, medium range and short range. We were on what they called a long range course, so we could roam all over Germany.
Mm.
And the air defence basically got tasked with various different air defence missions. And the air to ground did exactly the same with various different attack missions and different weapons. And at some point the staff colluded that you would meet. And there'd be a little bit of an air battle. And you could do it with following the rules completely. You know, there was no nonsense like that. And you came back having flown the closest you'd ever flown to a war mission, and a very, very good debrief. But it was all analogue, and it was slightly do-it-yourself. And I resolved at that point to go back on the staff and take the air defence slot. And that's what happened.
Which you did achieve,
Yeah.
but in the meantime, you're back on Tremblers, and your book is full of some lovely anecdotes. I enjoyed that bit very much, including a formation of phantoms who lost their sense of direction in France, a story that very quickly filtered back to Lucas, whereupon we all learned the Bonnie Tyler song for their return, the first line of which, "I was lost in France."
Well, you know, I never heard that.
How did you know?
I never heard that because I was at the other end in the meantime. I was in Akrotiri.
Yes, of course.
Because we got to Brindisi and there were the ground crew. I took the last wave through. And the ground crew said, "Where's the middle wave?" I said, "Don't know." And so we turned around and refueled and carried on and landed before the 2 o'clock base closure time. And this is when they got themselves totally messed up. But the key to it was that we looked at the planning of this and said, look, the whole thing, getting into French Airways, revolves around the Isle of Wight TACAN, the Ventnor TACAN. And that's a navigational beacon. And picking up the right radial off the TACAN and joining French Airways. Now, what if the TACAN's not working? And my navigator, I was always crewed with the weapons instructor, for convenience. And he said, yeah, good thinking. And he sat down with the navs and they worked out a game plan for what happens if we've got no radio nav. And, radar offsets, and what happens if my radar's down and it's your radar offset. And the navigators between them came up with a really good plan for what happened if the TACAN was down. And of course it was down. So we reverted to Navigator's radar plan and did a perfect join onto French Airways. And we had no problem. And this particular lot hadn't thought of that. And they disappeared into a remote part of France. And the radar was getting more and more angry. We send up the Mirage. and they sent them back to the channel and talked them into the airway. French were livid.
Oh dear.
And that was the first lot of signals complaining about these idiots. And of course they then hadn't got enough fuel to get to Brindisi. So they diverted into Grattanesi. And they knew Grattanesi was friendly because I'd actually done a squadron exchange there. But only 10 starfighters and a very modest supply of fuel. And they said, well, we'll have to cancel our afternoon flying. We'll give you £4,000 each, which is enough to get to Brindisi. And that's the best we can do. So they then went to Brindisi, but they'd missed the 2:00 closure time at Akrotiri.
Ah.
So the guy running all this said, right, well, we'll go downtown and find a nice hotel, which the RAF does. So air crew, ground crew, and Charlie 130 crew all went down and found a nice hotel. Well, you've got to remember the first thing the RAF ever did was in a hotel. Yeah, they had the first board meeting in I think it was called something like Gilbey's Hotel in London.
Oh, lovely.
And the tradition of going to a hotel has stuck ever since.
Mm.
And anyway, so the next thing was they spent a fortune downtown. And that was complaints from the command accountant. And they finally got to Akrotiri a day late. And there were diplomatic complaints from the French and from the Italians. You wouldn't believe the mess. And the guy who ran all this, and you know who he was as well as I do.
I can't quite remember.
He went down to the NAFI. He bought a picture frame and he put all his signals in the picture frame and hung it on the wall and stood there beaming at it.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, we've already alluded to it, but you got another golden ticket from Tremblers, and this was onto the staff of the Tactical Leadership Program.
That's right.
Brilliant. Of course you'd done. And your account reads like a who's who of different NATO aircraft that you got the chance to fly in.
I flew the lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What a wonderful time you must have had.
I flew it 21 different times.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which was your favourite?
F-16.
Really, yeah.
You know, with all due respect to the F-18, I flew the CF-18 because I'd worked up an intelligence briefing that was actually marketable. And I got a request from the Canadians at Solingen, can you please come down to a wing training event, and I could go 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours on this thing and give the 1 hour briefing. And I said yes, but I said there's a price. And what's that? I said I want to be picked up with a T-33 and delivered back, and I want a trip in an F-18 when I'm down there. And that they had it all ready. I jumped out of the T-33 into the F-18.
Brilliant.
And off we went. And it wasn't the same. The controls, you could feel that you were working through a system of locks, a system of interlocks on the controls. Whereas the F-16, you didn't get that. You looked over there, and suddenly you were pointing over there, and you didn't have to do a thing. Aeroplane, read your mind, did it for you.
Well, they were always upgrading the flight control
F-18,
systems.
the F-18 was lovely, but you could tell that I heard that designing that particular control system on the tail was very, very difficult.
By the time I got to it, it was flawless. But
yeah, but you could feel that there was something there. And the same with the F-15, you could feel it was like conventional controls. The F-16 didn't have that.
Interesting.
It just did it.
I like it.
Yeah.
If I could you expound a little on one subject that you mentioned in the book that I liked in particular, and that was the story of the Soviet defector, Viktor Belenko. He delivered a MiG-25 to the Japanese, and by association then to the Americans. And you spent a rather drunken weekend with him in Tucson, Arizona, of all places.
You read the drunken bit into the book. All I said was we went to every country and western bar in Tucson.
Okay, well, perhaps I am. Perhaps you can set me right. Was it drunken? And what was he like?
He was super.
Yeah?
He, essentially, the Americans were getting excited about something that was going to take place. And I said, well, what are you getting excited about? Victor's coming. Who's Victor? Viktor Belenko. He's coming to brief this Guard special event, you see. And I said, well, what's the problem? And they said, well, nobody wants to be officer in charge of Victor. Why not? I said, two-handed drinking. I said, well, doesn't sound that bad. Can an RAF officer be in charge of Victor? We'll check. And they obviously phoned his mind to us. And they said, yes, an RAF officer can be officer in charge of Victor. So they gave me a big staff car and the keys and Victor and said, bring him back to the barbecue at this address on Sunday evening. And anyway, what do you like, Victor? Country and Western? Me too. So halfway around Tucson, Victor says, didn't we come out with a car? Yeah, I do believe we did. He said, do you know where it is? I said, I haven't got a clue. Oh, well, never mind. And he'd forgotten where he was staying. And I said, well, look, there's an empty room next to mine. And the next morning, what are we going to do, Victor? And he said, well, my suggestion is that we find the car. So we jumped in a taxi and said, take us to the nearest country and western bar. This is Sunday, they're all closed till 4 o'clock. No, we don't want to go to the club, we want to go to the car park. And we explained to the driver we were looking for a big blue car. And there it was, halfway around Tucson, all on its own in a massive car park. And it hadn't been touched. Amazing.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
so
brilliant.
anyway, we arrived at the barbecue on time, and to everybody's amazement. And that was it. But he was a thoroughly nice guy, and it gave me the opportunity to get right into what it was really like being a Soviet. First of all, instructor, because he was a first tour instructor. And secondly, fighter pilot. And all these stories about you've got to fly for 21 minutes on this heading, turn onto that heading and change your height to this. All that's true after they'd gone on the squadron. But it wasn't the way they were taught to fly. And Victor left me in no doubt about that, that they taught to fly from the heart. And, you know, we got into things like how do you teach adverse yaw? And they taught that the Russian training seemed to be very much like ours. And they really taught the guy well. It was only when he got onto the squadron that the political guys got control. And then they had to fly these exact sorties that they were predictable and could be followed on radar. And he worked it out very carefully and made a run for it. But he went to the wrong airfield, but he got it on the ground.
Yeah, he ran off the end of the runway in the end.
Well, it wasn't the airfield he was going for.
Yeah.
But he saw an airfield when he hadn't got any fuel left. And very sensibly put the aeroplane down and went off the end of the runway.
I gather the aircraft was eventually returned to the Russians in about 25 packing cases.
Well, they said pillowcases.
I love it. And I'm delighted you got a chance to meet him. It must have been a very...
he was absolutely great. Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Brilliant. After a disappointing time then as a lecturer in the Department of Air Warfare at Cranwell, you went specialist aircrew.
I did.
And got a job instructing on the TTE, the Tornado Tri-National Training Establishment, if I'm not mistaken, the Triple TE. Teaching NATO pilots how to fly the new GL1.
Yes, NATO pilots, specifically German and Italian.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does a Brit end up teaching Germans and Italians?
Well, it was the Tri-National School, wasn't it?
Yeah, but didn't you teach any Brits?
Oh, yeah, we had Brits, of course we did, yeah. We had all three.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what was it like to...
And the occasional exchange officer.
Oh, right, yeah. Did you enjoy the Tornado?
I loved it, absolutely loved it. But the interesting thing was the Italians, you never had to worry about. They were absolutely superb. The kids were very well prepared for coming on the Tornado. The Brits were mixed, as you'd imagine. And the Germans were all underconfident. And they'd turn up in their brand new grey leather flying jackets with 4 or 5 badges sewn on, which they couldn't possibly have earned. And I used to go in on the Friday before they came to us and pick the German with the most badges and write his name down and said, that's my student, I'm going to fly with him because he'll be the biggest challenge. And sure enough, they were very difficult. They all came good, but they, for some reason, they came to us absolutely riddled with underconfidence.
That's a shame. Did you end up doing some exciting terrain following radar at night?
Yeah, I did that all the time.
Stuff?
Yeah.
What was it like? I mean, was it a good piece of kit?
Well, the thing was, there weren't enough navigators because after the tornado nighttime collision, which was tragic, that's between a Cottesmore aircraft and a Marham aircraft.
Oh, wow.
All sorts of new rules came in that you had to fly the night missions as an armed guerrilla with 4 minutes between aircraft and for going through exactly the same route so you could time into the low-flying areas and out again.
Mm-hmm.
And that meant there weren't enough navigators because there were only 3 staff navigators on each squadron, something like that. So, can pilots please volunteer for this? I said, yeah, I don't mind doing that, but I want to stick. So I want to be able to take control if I need to. And the penalty for that was you only had 2 radars, 2 screens, whereas normally you'd have, you have 1 screen if you've got the instruments.
Okay.
And it made it quite difficult because when you came into an attack, you were flipping the screen through 3 different events, whereas normally on 2 screens you could fix one of them and just flip the other one. And I in a perverse way, thoroughly enjoyed doing it until one night there was cloud down on the hills around the Lake District, and 2 Brit staff navigators, one of whom I flew with quite often, and the other was on a different squadron, and I knew they were up ahead in the stream, and I went, oh God, looking at the hills with the cloud down on the top, what am I going to do? Because we weren't supposed to take the students into cloud. And neither of the Brits had called pulling up, and I knew this would be, I'd never hear the end of it, and so I grit my teeth and went through. And I shall never forget coming out of cloud and the disorientation. I felt I was pointing vertically downwards, and there was Lake Windermere somewhere up there. Wow. And you really had to grit your teeth and go back to basics on instrument flying. But it was a lesson really well learnt. And I'm glad the students saw it as well.
Mm.
But that was the only really exciting bit.
Yeah. You also had a go on the new air defence variant.
I had 2 goes. I had 1 go when I was at Cranwell, and they kindly, it was a real spillover from TLP because we had a pair out on TLP as enemy air, and they were awful. And I had a big feedback to give them on that, and the reward was a trip in the F2.
Mm. With Fred Grundy, of all people.
With Fred Grundy.
Yeah, my old mucker. Yeah, we were first tourists together on 43.
Yeah, well, he was absolutely great, and he showed me exactly what was wrong with the radar and all the missing bits that it hadn't got. And subsequently, I flew the F3 at Leeming with Tony Boxall. And that was really just, come and see what that was grace and favour from the squadron commander. He said, well, come and fly my 2-seater and see what it's like. And it wasn't too different, sitting in the back, exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. It seems we've arrived in your book at the point where you head off to Toulouse and climb into...
That was after the book.
I know, but I mean, you mentioned it in the fly, I think. And you climb into the marvel that is the A320. As you look back over your career, I quote from your book, over a massive jug of beer. What were your thoughts?
Well, what actually happened was that I'd arranged to officially leave the Air Force on the 2nd of April. And the conversation with the poster was, when's the pension increment? Is it the 31st of March or the 1st of April? And he said, I don't know. He said, shall we have you leaving on the 2nd, just to be on the safe side?
Love it.
And I said, yeah, okay. So 2nd of April, we're sitting on the roof of a cafe in Toulouse, opposite the hotel we were staying in. And they counted down 3, 2, 1, and hooray! And the waiter came rushing out, what are the hooligans up to? And he said, he just became a civilian. And this little waiter, with a great long apron, said, oh, we have a procedure. And he went back and he brought out this enormous mug of beer, compliments of the direction. Because they were so used to troops leaving the Air Force in Toulouse, they actually had a procedure for it.
Wow, excellent.
And that was it. And I had to drink this massive, great glass of beer to become a civilian.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So we come back to the book. The whole point of being here, it is a great book, and I can thoroughly recommend it. It's enjoyable, it's funny, it's full of interesting stories, and a lesson to us all in what it was like to fly. If you've got any, all these amazing aircraft, have you got any final words for us?
I enjoyed writing the book, and what you haven't touched on was how the book came about.
Oh, please tell us.
Well, I've always enjoyed writing for magazines. I used to write a wine column in Germany, for example. And I used to write a restaurant column in Lucas. And I just used to enjoy dabbling. And when I was flight safety at the local gliding club, I actually produced more than a newsletter. I used to go 8 or 10 pages and, bring in little articles or write stories myself in there. And there was a journalist called Dave Unwin, who is very well known, evaluating hundreds of aircraft types. He's flown everything. And he was encouraging me, it's time, you've got to put this into a book. You've got to get this together, put it into a book. And eventually I drafted something out. I drafted out a book plan. What do you think of that? And he was incredibly helpful. And he sort of coached me through getting it written into book shape. And then I said, now, what do I do about a publisher? And Dave Unwin said, I'll find one for you. And he got turned down by the first one. And Grub Street said yes. And I met John Davis, and we had lunch together. And he said, right, go for it. And that was the creation of the book.
Brilliant.
And I must say, Grub Street were a delight to work with. Absolutely super. They were completely clear what they needed when they needed it by. They missed a couple of things out of the index, but hard luck.
Yeah.
Sadly, one of them was Tony Parker, and Miggy was very upset about that he wasn't there.
That's a shame, but there you go. Still, you've presented us with a lovely record of your Air Force flying career, and thank you very much indeed.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I can't believe we never met.
We have now.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, it's one of those questions, isn't there? Can't believe that they never actually met in all those years of being kind of in the same places. Quite a few times they were, weren't they?
Yeah, even though they didn't actually meet, they knew the same people, although they were there at very slightly different times. It's a great interview. I'm really glad we had the chance to sit down with Alan, and thank you to Nick so much for his incredible contribution as always. This is why people like Carlos and I don't do these interviews. We subcontract it to Nick, especially if it's something to do with military aviation and his career in the RAF. But absolutely incredible. So that book is available from Grub Street Publishing. It's called Fast Jets on the Front Line by Alan Munro. I just did double check. Actually, we don't have any signed copies, I'm afraid. So I think you might have to buy them for real directly from Grub Street. I don't know whether I don't think they've got any signed copies, but if you want to buy one, I put a link in the chat there for Grub Street Publishing, and you can buy them on Amazon as well. But well worth the read, and there's many more stories in the book that we didn't have time to cover in the interview, unfortunately. But really good value, I would say. And for anyone who's into military aviation and what went on back in the day, then it's a great read.
Yeah, and we need to have these sorts of interviews, I think, from people like Alan to give that insight into to what went on, back then within the RAF. I think it's been a very good insight, Nev.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So, thanks to Alan and to Nick for contributing to that. Really enjoyed working with them.
Yes, and thank you to you, Nev, as well. And, of course, Nick, for putting that all together and for doing the filming, your usual great sterling job with the audio and the visual stuff, Nev.
You may have just noticed, though, it's a bit of a secret. The last 5 seconds of filming, Nick's radio mic cut out, which I hadn't noticed.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So I think the battery just died in it. So, but I think we got away with it, as they
Oh,
say.
you done well. Right, what's up next, Mr. Bones?
Well, talking of military, it's that time again. So a couple of military stories, and with a nice contribution from John on the second military story as well. So let's go to the military segment.
What's up, bogeys? 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 100 bogeys.
And the first story this week comes to us from flightglobal.com. Turkey finalises the deal to acquire 12 ex-Royal Air Force C-130J tactical transports. Turkey's Defence Ministry has confirmed that a long-expected deal for the nation to acquire a dozen ex-Royal Air Force Lockheed Martin C-130J tactical transports has been finalised. No further details on the arrangement have been disclosed, but Ankara says the stored assets will now undergo maintenance and modernisation prior to their delivery. Flown by the RAF until the type's early retirement back in June 2023, the 12 stretched fuselage C-130J-30s have been stored at Marshall Aerospace in Cambridge Airport since their withdrawal from service. In its recently published annual report for the year ending the 31st of December 2024, Marshall said an expected contract to return the C-130Js to operational use, including installing replacement centre wing boxes of the 5 of the aircraft, would be worth more than £200 million, or 268 million, dollars. The activity should span a 4-year period, it also added, and confirming its receipt of a contract from Turkey's Defence Ministry. The company on 20th October said that the multi-year agreement covers entry into service and sustainment for all 12 aircraft, including scheduled maintenance and spares and tooling. The deal will also see it providing training to enable the customer to build up an indigenous capability on the C-130J platform. Aviation analyst company Serum records the Turkish Air Force is currently operating 18 legacy C-130Bs and Es, with these airframes aging between 51 and 66 years old. By contrast, the surplus RAF Herculeses originally entered their frontline use from 1999. Confirmation of the sale to Turkey leaves the UK with 3 standard fuselage C-130Js that are still available to potential buyers. What do you think, Nev?
Well, I'm surprised that they've still got spares and tooling and maintenance for these aircraft available. But you know, I'm not a military expert, as you might have gathered. So if they have, then that's great.
Yeah. What about you, John? I mean, I've been up close and personal and had a tour inside one of these C-130Js, and it is a heck of a bit of kit to see inside.
Oh yeah, definitely a great aircraft, quite capable of doing all the things you need a small transport to do, and compared to a B, wow, much more modern. Just the avionics alone will be an incredible jump in capabilities for them in terms of the navigation facilities it has versus a B, which has probably been bodged together upgrades over the last 60 some years. Geez, that's just, I'm still in shock from that little bit in the story there. Yeah, it definitely offers a lot more reliability as well, and the J's are used by the U.S. and many other partners around the world, so that the parts and tooling and support for that airframe is going to be around for a long time, and much easier than it will be for Bs and E model C-130s.
Comment in the chat room. There's been a few comments in the chat room, actually. Richard Adams is saying that his first ever flight was in the back of one of these. He'll never forget it. Oh, very good as well. Darren Smith says tea ladies arrived. Yes, Gemma did just walk in there. And also a comment from Jason Trussell, Nev, but we'll leave that one in the chat room for everyone to see, I think.
Yes, and he's got a very good point.
He has got a very good point. John, next one for you. One of the stories that you picked up for us before we started today.
Yeah, it's one from the War Zone. Great website. Definitely advocate people check them out. Bad fuel may have caused back-to-back Nimitz aircraft crashes. U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested that contaminated fuel may have been a factor in the U.S. Navy's loss of an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter and an F-18F Super Hornet in the South China Sea on Sunday. In a very strange chain of events, two aircraft, both assigned to the supercarrier USS Nimitz, went down within 30 minutes of each other while on separate missions. The crews of the Seahawk and the Super Hornet were both safely retrieved. They're going to let me know pretty soon, Trump told reporters while flying aboard Air Force One on Monday. I think they should be able to find out. It could be bad fuel. I mean, it's possible it's bad fuel. Very unusual that would happen. As well, they thought foul play led to the crashes. Trump said, "I don't think so," and reiterated his contamination fuel theory. We don't believe it was anything nefarious, said a U.S. Navy official to the War Zone. U.S. Pacific Fleet, which oversees naval operations in the South China Sea region, declined to comment on Trump's statement about crashes and referred us to the White House. We have yet to receive response and will update the story with any pertinent information provided. The first of the two mishaps occurred around 2:45 local time, according to Pac Fleet. That's when the Seahawk, assigned to the Battle Cats of Helicopter Maritime Strike Squadron 73, went down in the waters off the South China Sea while conducting routine operations from the Nimitz. And Pac Fleet released stated the search and rescue assets assigned to the carrier Strike Group 11 safely recovered all three crew members. Half an hour later, an F-18F Hornet fighter assigned to fighting Redcocks of Strike Fighter Squadron 22, VF-22, also went down in the waters of the South China Sea while conducting routine operations from the Nimitz, Pac Fleet announced. Both crews assigned to carrier Strike Group 11. All personnel involved are safe and in stable condition. The cause of both incidents is currently under investigation.
It's been an expensive of time for the U.S. military.
Wow. Yeah, that's an understatement. Plus, the need to retrieve an F-18 off the seafloor is pretty high, and I imagine there's a lot of assets in the area right now circling that spot to get the Chinese away while they try and go in there and get that thing out of the water, and back up. But yeah, normally Trump is known for speaking prior to thinking. This is probably a pretty legit concept of error correlation. There is kind of the only thing that sort of would put two together. It could just be crazy happenstance. But if you did have contaminated fuel, that could definitely bring down the jet. An F-18 is a twin-engine aircraft. In theory, should be able to take a problem to one engine and keep on flying unless there was a fire. Same for the Seahawk. Again, it's twin-engine aircraft, very reliable. These guys operate, in these kind of conditions all the time, and I did want to commend the squadrons that went out there and recovered the aircrew in such a quick manner and got them back safely. It's very much a testament to the training of the naval aviators, especially that helicopter crew, to get out of a helicopter, because those things, they just try and kill you multiple ways. You can do a successful crash and the thing decides in the water to roll over on its back, and you have to get out of an aircraft that's upside down. So the fact that everybody got out is incredible testament to the training of the U.S. military and most militaries involved. It's great to see that they're all back and recover because they're the most important assets of this entire story.
Very true. Comment in the chat room. You'll like this one, John. From Richard Adams, says he's always amazed when our carriers, as in the UK aircraft carriers, are in Portsmouth looking huge. Then a US carrier moors outside the harbour and shows what big really means.
Yeah, I was long ago flying into Norfolk with Colgan, and we had a nor'easter, which is sort of the winter version of almost a hurricane, and it was significant enough that the base commander, the port commander for the Navy base there at Norfolk, decided to sortie the fleet, which included an aircraft carrier. And when they do it like that in an emergency manner, everything comes hauling out of the channel at speeds that are, ludicrous speed, basically. And one of the things I saw was it was just outside the bridge a ways was an aircraft carrier, and the wake that thing was turning up was absolutely insane. It just looked like the entire ocean was being ripped out of the ocean and tossed aside. And it was impressive. The size of those things is amazing.
Yeah, you guys definitely do it large in the US when it comes to not just food, but also military stuff, grey stuff, as we call it. Right, we better crack on with the last part of the show, but it's also an important part as well. It's been a little bit in the making. It's been a very busy week for a member of our team with emails and phone calls and stuff. But we can confirm that we have now sorted and arranged and put in place a venue and date for our 600th, yes, 600th live show. Nev, what are we doing?
Right. Well, here are all the details. I know it sounds that it's a way off yet, but if you don't book these things, you can't get the venue. So we have done so. So the date to put in your diary, if you would like to come, is Friday, the 22nd of May, 2026. That's Friday, the 22nd of May, 2026. The venue is the Airside Suite at the Imperial War Museum at Duxford in the United Kingdom. And because we are having to pay quite a lot of money to secure this, there will be an entry fee for it. And I'll go through the details of what you get for that in a second. So you'll need to pay us £60 sterling, payable by the 1st of April next year. To either the PTUK Patreon or the PayPal account. And you can find those details on the Support the Show banner, which you get at the front of our website. So with that gives you a complimentary 1 hour admission to the museum. We've got a special guest presentation, as in previous years, details of which to be announced. So you'll know that we've had Neil Cloughley on the show, we've had Peter Collings, we've had Adam Spink on the show, and we're going to start arranging a new guest speaker. If you're coming by car, there's a dedicated special parking area for our guests, actually, in the conference part of the Imperial War Museum. So that's quite nice. Also, with that fee, you get all the tea and coffee breaks during the day with cookies, fresh fruit, and a buffet style lunch included in your entry price. We're thinking about doing a dinner venue for the evening. That will sort of be a pay for yourself kind of thing. Details to be announced when we've worked out what we're going to do with that. So there's also plenty of reasonably priced accommodation local to Duxford. So I would suggest, if you are thinking of coming, you book early if you require this. And it is down to you to book your own accommodation. We're not doing any of that, I'm afraid. But Carlos and I are going to be staying at the Holiday Inn Express in Cambridge. And the postcode for that is Charlie Bravo 1 3 Lima Hotel. That's the closest one, the closest Holiday Inn to the venue. If you would like to come, Send your request to attend to podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and we will send you a confirmation email after we've received your payment. Could you also let us know at the same time if you have any dietary requirements so that we can inform the catering team at Duxford? There are limited spaces available for this, as you can imagine. I think we're probably going to be in the sort of the 40 to 50 people bracket, something like that. So just to recap, it's on Friday the 22nd of May 2026 at Imperial War Museum, Duxford, at the Airside Suite, and the entry fee is £60 sterling, which you've got to pay us by the 1st of April 2026, which seems a long way off, but you'd be surprised how quickly that comes around after Christmas. And you can see some pictures on the screen, hopefully, of what the Airside Suite looks like. It's overlooking the main historic part of Duxford. And of course, hopefully by May 2026, we'll have some nice weather as well. So it's fortunate the 600th show is going to be around that time. So those are the details so far. And look forward to seeing as many people as possible that would like to come.
Yeah, it's going to be a awesome event. We obviously wanted to do something special, being as it's our 600th show, and obviously we sort of, for the 500th show, we took a bit of a sort of step back with the big event kind of thing. But for the 600th, we wanted to do something special. We've tried to get into Duxford previous years. It's quite difficult to get into there to do certain things at Duxford, but we've managed to, as Nev said, secure a date and what is an awesome little venue room as well that overlooks the heritage aircraft there at Duxford, so you get a good view of not just the aircraft taking off and flying, because there's bound to be some there if the weather's good, especially that day, but also you'll get to see the heritage aircraft, which include, let me think, Nev, you've got the Trident on display there, you've got what are the ones you got on the front?
The Queen's Flight, the 146.
Yeah.
Concorde pre-production model as well in the hangar, and there is there's the US hangar, of course. Absolutely incredible there. Now, one thing I haven't quite worked out yet, and I have to talk with them. There is a 1 hour complimentary visit to the museum as well. So how they police that, I don't know. But I'll find out. But obviously 1 hour is nowhere near long enough to go around, even half of the displays that are there. But I'll come up with some more details. But we'll be repeating this every week. So as the weeks go on, we'll be giving you more details. But those are the bare bones of it at the moment.
And we've already had 2 emails in, Nev. Richard Adams, he's rock and roll, and also Mr. Warner as well, says see you in May next year.
Lovely. I shall be starting my spreadsheet and putting your names in there as well. So thank you very much indeed, folks. But I'm sorry we're having to charge money for it, but it's it's a commercial operation at Duxford, and although they've done us a special deal, we do need to charge people as an entrance fee. But I think I'm hoping you agree it's good value for money, and it'll give you some time to save up £60 sterling between now and May. Obviously, you have to get there under your own steam, depending on where you're coming from. And we've even heard just on the QT that I think Armando is going to be there as well.
Yes.
How about that?
So if you've not met Armando yet, it'll be a good chance to meet up with Armando. And there may well be another couple of people coming over from the US from another certain podcast joining us as well, but
we should charge them extra then for that.
More on that later. But going to be a great day. We're obviously going to do a bit of live show from there. We'll also probably also have a little kind of, as Nev said, a little walk around the museum. If you've not been there before, it is a fantastic museum, very, very good indeed. And like I said, if the weather's good, which I'm sure it will be in May, there's always lots of flying going on there. I know that the last few occasions I've been there over the summer, on random days, the Spitfires and Hurricanes have been doing various kind of maintenance flights in and around the area, and the Mustang, which is always good to see, as well as the Oh, we'll try the Dragon Rapide, Nev, the tail dragon we have there. Yeah. So always good to see. So yeah, get your emails in, let us know, and look forward to hopefully seeing as many of you there in May next year for our 600th podcast. Wow, Nev, 600.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
It is.
It is a lot. But,
right.
Yeah.
Now, Nev, all important details where people can find out more about us.
Yeah, absolutely. On the socials, it's Facebook, X or Instagram. Just search those platforms for Plane Talking UK. The email is podcast@planetalkinguk.com. That's the email you need to use if you would like to come to the 600 show. We will not be accepting any other method of bringing you into the show, unfortunately. And we do need your payment by the 1st of April for that. The website's planetalkinguk.com. You can just go onto there and you'll see the Patreon and PayPal links in the support the show section. So that's the banner you need to click for your payment, and I will send you a acknowledgement of your payment as well once you've done that. The WhatsApp number is +44 7446 975 214. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course. Don't forget to like us as well, because that helps the algorithms. And also, if you click on the notifications, you'll get you'll be able to see when we go live, and you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room. Thank you to everyone tonight for doing so, by the way. Just go to youtube.com and search for Plane Talking UK. As you already know, I've mentioned you can just support the show, generally speaking, if you wish, just by clicking on support the show, and that will give you a link to the Patreon and PayPal facility.
There we go. Look forward to hearing from you all. Well, that's it for the show. We're going to say a big thanks to all the chat room for joining us this evening. As always, awesome chat room. Love you all. You are awesome. You're what makes a show what it is, having you guys in the chat room every week. Also going to say a big thanks to everyone who downloads a podcast as well as an audio show. Thank you for downloading us each week as well and supporting the show. And also thank you to John Jester for jumping into the flight deck at the last minute there and joining us on the show tonight. Thank you, John. Very much appreciated, and hopefully we'll have you back on soon with some stories of some flights you've got coming up soon, hopefully.
Yeah, not a problem. Glad to jump in and help you out as always. And we'll see if I get anything here in the coming week or two. Overtime flying is what I'm looking to do, and then the last half of November I'm working from home, so that'll be weird.
Nev, what are you up to? Anything exciting coming up this weekend in the world?
Well, a birthday on Saturday.
Oh, whose birthday is that?
My 64th birthday. And it's very appropriately All Saints' Day as well. I don't know how that can possibly apply to me, but yes, it's the birthday on Saturday, so it's a bit of a family get-together at the local pub and restaurant, which I'm looking forward to. Get Sue to do some driving actually as well, which means I haven't got to, which makes a change. Looking forward to that. And a quieter next week actually. We've been a bit hectic this week, so just the birthday on Saturday.
Excellent, Nev. And it's Gemma's birthday on Sunday, day after yours. So
it is, isn't it? Yes.
We shall be probably celebrating in front of the fire, Nev, feet up with the wood burner going, which will be nice.
Yeah.
And this coming Friday, all being well, fingers crossed, I shall be broadcasting the first live show from Studio One for Park Radio on Friday night. Hopefully everything's going to work. Fingers crossed. Matt should have plugged everything in properly. I think he's been working on it long enough for the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, that'll be my Friday night. And Saturday, well, I shall be washing the car, Nev, because having a white Jeep is just probably not a great idea. The greatest idea I had, buying a white car. Anyway, thanks to everyone again, and don't forget to join us next Wednesday, 7 o'clock here on YouTube for episode 575. So from me, Carlos here in the home studio, handing over to Nev to say goodbye to everyone.
Yes, thanks very much indeed, everybody, for joining us. And thank you again, John, for stepping in at the 11th hour there. We really appreciate it. I hope you have a nice rest of the week and the weekend. We'll be back, as Carlos says, on Wednesday, 7 o'clock UK time next week. In the meantime, bye for now.
We done it.
Yeah.
It's in the can.
Another one in the can.
Another one in the can. Ah, well. Yeah, Gemma brought me in a cup of tea earlier. I wonder why she'd poked her head through the door. And everyone was correct in the chat room. It was the tea lady bringing me in a cup of tea. Nice strong cup of tea as well. So,
good.
Yeah. But I had just as a offshoot from the story I was talking, or the thing I was talking about a minute ago. We had our first firing of the wood burner on Saturday, just gone. Because obviously we moved into the house in August, so we had lit the wood burner on Saturday because it was a bit chilly outside. And I'll tell you what, Nev, levels of warmth in the front room were off the chart.
I'm sure. Yes, it doesn't matter what size those wood burners are, they really chuck out the heat. And especially if you're in a house that's quite well insulated anyway. It's steaming in there.
Honestly, the regret, it was sort of perhaps I should have waited until it was really cold, but it was very warm. And to be fair, our chimney sweep guy who we got in to come and clean and check the flue and stuff over before we lit it, did warn us that it will kick out a fair amount of heat when you when you get it going. So but I'll tell you what, it was lovely.
I'm sure the cats appreciated it as well.
Yeah, to sit there, feet up, little glass of sherry in hand. It was lovely. Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, thanks again, John, for joining us this evening. It's been great to have you back on again, as always.
Yeah, I think John's had to drop off the call because he's got to go and deal with a dog that's making noise downstairs.
Well.
But no, as usual, great. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you very much to everybody for joining us this evening. And for those who want to come to the show so far, I shall put your names on the spreadsheet immediately we finish the show. So we've got an idea who's coming. We're also going to get lanyards done as well, so everybody can see who everybody else is. Because that's
another email in, Nev.
So, yeah.
Another email in from Darren Smith.
Lovely.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Darren. Making the trek in from Oslo. Excellent. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's a long way off. But it'll soon be here, May next year. But it's a nice venue for those of you who've not been to Duxford yet, or not had the chance to visit Duxford here in the UK. Is a very nice museum, and well worth the membership that I pay to be part of the Imperial War Museum members club every month to go in as and when I want to. But it's a great little museum. Right, I suppose we better say good night to everyone. Let everyone get on with their Wednesday night. Thanks again, all the chat room, for joining us tonight. Much appreciated to you all, and have a great weekend, whatever you guys and girls are up to out there. And stay safe, stay warm, and stay dry is the way forward. And that's it. Nev, would you like to say goodbye? And I shall press all the right buttons.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. And thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Great fun as always. And thanks for your kind words about the Alan Monroe interview as well. I agree. I was really pleased with the way that went and how Alan was able to tell his story. So in the meantime, have a nice rest of the week and weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.